Yeah, Andrew, we've been talking for some time. We had discussions about Bud Light and the management not being aggressive enough, and and other issues about people not being strong enough, being too put off by social justice warriors, so to speak, to get out and speak their mind, or by people on the far right who are trying to cancel them. In the case of Bud Light, that's not the case right now with Israel and these acts of terror. I mean, it's interesting, as you brought up to us before the show, the Apollo CEO now talking about how the president of University of Pennsylvania should be fired because she did not speak out aggressively enough against the terrorism. We also saw in the New York Times, I read that Bill Ackman, obviously a hedge fund chief, also saying to Harvard, please let us know what students are not condemning terrorism, because we want to make sure we never hire any of them.
Right.
Talk about how this has been a bit more of a unifying issue for CEOs, even as presidents of colleges and universities dither.
No, there's no question. Over the last year, a lot of CEOs and the business community that had been quite outspoken on a lot of social issues were walking that back. This issue in particular, and the truth is, it started before these heinous attacks. You call them terrorist attacks. I think that's the appropriate way to describe what's happened here. And there's no way to justify any of this in any way. And the fact of the matter is that you now have CEOs who I think look at this issue. A number of them are Jewish. I'm Jewish, by the way, and they are horrified, as I think everybody is horrified. But even before this attack, what happened at the University of Pennsylvania, and this was only, I think, within the last 3 weeks now, there was this Palestine Writers Festival that took place, and it had been outsourced and run by a known anti-Semite who has fomented this kind of hate. And in this case, the CEO of Apollo, behind the scenes, we did not know this until just yesterday, had been really pushing the University of Pennsylvania to come out with a statement condemning this group. And that the University of Pennsylvania not only refused to condemn this group, citing the idea of free speech, but effectively went to a number of the trustees, including Mark Rowan, and said, you know what, maybe you shouldn't be on the board of this university, effectively trying to silence these trustees from speaking out. And that's what led to Mark Rowan putting out this letter yesterday, now calling for the resignation of the president of the University of Pennsylvania, as well as the resignation of the top trustee of the school, who, by the way, happens to be another CEO on Wall Street, a guy named Scott Bach at Greenhill, and also saying, don't donate money to the University of Pennsylvania anymore. It's a remarkable thing. We should say Mark Rowan is still the chairman of the board of the Wharton School of Business at Penn. Wow. It is a remarkable turn of events.
Well, it is a remarkable turn of events, and it is also remarkable, and this is something that I'm not Jewish, I'm Baptist, but it's something I've been talking about on this network for 20 years, that on college campuses, for some reason, anti-Semitism is allowed to fester and it's allowed to grow, even as racism
normalized in a terrible way.
Racism is rightly fought left and right, but anti-Semitism, a heinous form of racism that's led to the killing of millions and millions of Jews through the year for some reason, from USC to Columbia and all points in between. I've reported time and time and time again about this over the past 20 years. It's not getting better. I don't understand the blind spot on college campuses. I have it. I didn't in the early 2000s when I started on TV. I didn't in the 90s when I was in Congress. I don't understand now. And I want to just put up this Axios headline. I love our friends at Axios. They are literally dear friends of mine. But look at this headline. CEOs seek to blacklist Harvard students after signing pro-Palestinian letter. No, not pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas.
Hamas, exactly.
Pro-Hamas. And this is, I want to keep this up because the media needs to do a better job of clarifying that those were pro-Hamas letters. There were many celebrating the terror attacks, beheading babies, burning grandmothers alive. Let's be exact. in our language. Let's be exact in our headlines. Because you supporting terror attacks against babies and against families, the slaughter of families, against grandmothers, that is not pro-Palestinian. I have criticized the Israeli government for not being more aggressive through the years, for finding peace with the Palestinian people, looking for ways to find peace with the Palestinian people, but they've never been able to do that, Andrew, and I know you know that, in Gaza, because Hamas, they shoot people in Hamas that want to find a two-state solution. Hamas says our goal is to kill Jews. And so, again, this inexact language, it's the same thing when we're talking about, you know, these presidents of universities may say, oh, we're worried about the Palestinian people. Guess what? My heart breaks for the Palestinian people. My heart breaks for the Palestinian people. My heart breaks for the Israeli people slaughtered by Hamas. Hamas is a terror organization that has held hostage the Palestinian people in Gaza for 20 years. And of course, we've seen what they're capable of doing to Jews when they get the chance.
And Joe, just to contextualize that article, what happened there was Bill Ackman, a hedge fund manager in New York, came out and said, look, Harvard should disclose who are the students who are behind these groups that signed this letter. I want to know, meaning Bill Ackman was saying he wanted to know because he said, I don't want to hire those people. He put out a letter last night saying that those individuals who were part of signing it, if they made a mistake, if they feel that they shouldn't have signed it, and Larry Summers and others have said that some of these kids might have made a mistake, they should raise their hand and say, I made a mistake, and publicly condemn what just happened. You have not seen that happen.
You can do two things. You can condemn what happened, the outright terrorist acts, and you can also call for a two-state solution that will alleviate the suffering, the heinous conditions that Palestinians have been living under, with Hamas leading them since 2005, by the way. You can do those two things at once.
Don't celebrate savagery. CNBC's Andrew Ross Sorkin, thank you.
Thank you
very much.